maybe a short and quick answer to your question, how to reconcile the different positions, would be through diplomacy. This is what we always do and what we always aim at. But since you touched various important aspects, maybe I would elaborate a little bit on this. First of all, you know very well that the European Union has always been and is ready and willing to cooperate and to work with the United States, specifically on the Iran file. This is very important. And especially now with the change of administration in Washington, we need to find a way for the US to rejoin the nuclear deal, because nuclear deal is a very important piece of non-proliferation architecture and stability in the region. And we also need to find a way for Iran to come back to the full implementation of its commitments. Now, this is not an easy exercise. It will require a maximum diplomacy, and time is not on our side. Time is of essence. And this month, all 27 EU member states expressed their support for intensive diplomacy with the goal of facilitating the return of the US to the nuclear deal and Iran's return to the full implementation. Last month, the participants of the high-level ministerial meeting of the JCPOA, the ministers, they acknowledged the prospect of a return of US to the JCPOA and underlined their readiness to positively address this in joint efforts. So you see from these two different strands, the ministers of the JCPOA, the ministers of EU member states, everyone declaring the willingness to achieve this through joint efforts. And this is what we will be focusing on, because there is only one way, and that's through diplomacy and joint efforts. And the High Representative Borrell, as the coordinator of the JCPOA, he continues his engagement with all parties, and he continues also his efforts to facilitate the return to a JCPOA which delivers fully on its objectives. And the objective is, of course, to keep Iran away from acquiring nuclear weapons. So whatever we will need to do, we will try to do jointly with our partners to make sure that the US is able to return to the JCPOA.
Thank you. Other questions for Peter on external affairs?